So the last countdown went pretty well. Nothing crazy so far, but did get a lot of views, and we blew past 300 likes like it was nothing, which is pretty awesome. But I did notice almost immediately after uploading the show that 2 posts were made online bashing the show since I allowed 3 semi-autos to take spots. And some comments also reflected this. However, they didn't directly bash me or dislike the video for it, so I really appreciate that. Thank you guys. Except for you real butt hurters. So because of this, I felt the need to remake the sniper countdown and to limit it to only bolt action rifles, and hopefully I'll get it right this time. So with over 20,000 people hooked, we can get into another USAirsoft original. This is the new top 5 Airsoft sniper builds. Top 7. Whatever, it still begins with a Norway native named Kent with the CO2 powered KJW M700. Boasting about 100-meter hits, this KJW was equipped with a Doctrine hop-up chamber, a 9-ball bucking, an Orga 6.23 400mm inner barrel, a G&G power bolt, a G&G bolt seal and gasket ring, a G&G striker pin, a custom trigger, a field silencer, and a home paint job, which ran Kent to a total of around $600. Kent also said that he was able to score 95 hits with this piece just last summer, and that Airsoft in Norway is growing quickly despite how frigid it can be during the harsh winter season. This would be a bit of a more simple construct, but would be our first build from Norway, which just goes to show you how diverse our hobby can be. But let's continue with this trend at number 6, that is held down by a player of the country of Sweden. This would be Marcus with the CO2 tapped Ares TRG 42. Standing out in any field due to its rarity, this Airsoft Classic was upgraded with, of course, a CO2 tap magazine. Hooked up to a Mancraft regulator and a CO2 adapter, while internally an EDGI 6.01 640mm inner barrel and a Maple Leaf Diamond 80-degree bucking guide Marcus's shot. Marcus also had to modify the hop-up arm as to get rid of a built-in nub, so now he can add any custom nub like his homemade M variant. And the last of the internal upgrades will be a G&G hammer and striker spring for a Tanaka M700, which did have to be cut as to fit into a TRG bolt. And to really keep track of his shots, a Strike Systems 10x50 scope was thrown on top of all of that to bring up the total of this Ares to $1,000 US. I'm beginning to see CO2 conversions as a popular choice of upgrades for bolt action rifles, but I've never used one before, so I'm curious as to why go that route. But I'm sure someone watching this video will enlighten me, as you guys have always done. But I thank Marcus and Kim for submitting their builds, but you know, we must move on. Moving on to number 5, we have something a bit different from the land of the Queen. This would be Josh with his unfinished Lee Enfield number 4. Now this I really like, but technically Josh didn't build it himself and it lacks a lot of the mods that the other spot holders have. But good god man, tell me when was the last time you saw one of these on an average day of play? Built on an ASG M70 from Shoot and Scoot out of Scotland, this rifle sports a completely custom wood stock and custom fitted steel parts from the front to the back, but internally it's all stock. However, Josh did say that he needs to send this piece out to a real gunsmith as to have the sights remade, as he does not like what's been done to him. But he does shoot at 320 feet per second with the .25 gram BB. Now this is definitely a piece that stands out from the bunch with a price tag of only $536, but he would admit that it could have been made better. But I like it regardless, and even has a little fun messing with the elitists out there by throwing on some add-ons when he can. But now let's check out the first Tokumuri at number 4 from the same land. This would be Wayne, better known as Bodjups, with his VSR G-Spec. Shown in our last video briefly, I didn't exactly get into the nit and gritty of it, so here's my second chance. This 9-year-old rifle, shooting at about 480 feet per second with a .2 gram BB, was hooked up like I said with a Laylax zero trigger and piston, a Laylax Teflon cylinder, a Laylax spring guide, an M150 spring, a 6.03mm 430mm inner barrel, a Laylax 9-ball hop-up rubber, a Biro mod on the hop arm, Realtree fabric tape and Jack Peak leaf material on top, a Hawk 12x50 scope, spirit levels on the back of the scope rail, and a GoPro and camcorder are mounted on this VSR setup for constant use to put together amazing videos over and over again. And if you've seen some of his videos before, you'll see some of the crazy hits that he's able to pull off, but that's what to be expected of a rifle that's been used for so many years by so many players around the world. Also guys, if you haven't already, then be sure to check out Wayne's channel where he normally posts all sorts of sniper content every week. A link to it will be in the description to make things easier. But continuing along our numbered routine, we would have number 3, which would also be our third Indonesian build. This would be Andrew with another good looking VSR 10. Now this may look a little bit different from Bodjups, and that would be partly due to the model works stock, but there would be a bit more to it than that. Andrew even gave me more insight into Airsoft in Indonesia, saying that Airsoft in his country is very complicated. It's not legal to have an Airsoft replica unless you have a written permit from the police. And you must be in a shooting club as well. It's also very difficult to import any kinds of parts, so the price on anything is crazy, and I'm talking about a 30 to 50% increase in price. But some people combat this by building their own parts locally, which is a great way to stick it to the man. But anyway, back to this build. Andrew has equipped this VSR with an MB556 style muzzle brake, a Marui VSR silencer adapter, a Leopold 40mm scope, an NC Star bipod, a PDI inner barrel Raven 470mm AEG cut, a PDI AEG bucking, PDI barrel spacers, a PDI hop-up chamber, a PDI cylinder Raven set, a PDI VSR 210 spring, a Laylax bolt handle and end cap, and a VFC zero trigger before wrapping it all in a custom camo, which would bring the price of this build to roughly $1,000. But this wouldn't be the only build from Andrew that grabs attention, as he has a bit of an act for putting together some great setups, which he does even more work to. So I'd like to think of this as just a taste of what this builder can dish out, and I hope to have another rifle of his on our show in the future. Now for our runner-up, we would have one last rifle that doesn't reside in my own country. Showing himself at number 2 from Sweden, we would have Mons with his M40 rifle. Shooting at a crazy 640 feet per second with a 40 gram BB thanks to non-existent restrictions of bolt actions in Sweden, this rifle is able to land hits at 100 meters, which are measured by a rangefinder that Mons uses. But a lot had to be thrown into the base rifle to get it to this monstrous strength, which would include a custom cylinder Mons put together himself, which pulls in more air for a harder shot. Continuing on with the list, a PDI bore-up receiver, a PDI scope rail, a PDI fluted tapered outer barrel, PDI barrel spacers, a PDI V-trigger, a PDI version 2 hop-up, a PDI W-hold bucking, a PDI bore-up cylinder set, a PDI SPR 300% spring, a PDI 6.08 430mm inner barrel, a custom bolt handle, a TAC Vector Sig Field 6-12 by 50 scope, and of course the Model Works M40A3 stock, making this a $1,200 gun. This would be the embodiment of power on the field, and with the feet per seconds dishing out, I definitely not want to be going up against it, especially if he's shooting out 4s with it. But as Mons has a couple handmade parts inside of this rifle, the next build would be almost completely made out of them. And oddly enough, it would be the only US build on the show today. So from brute force to precision craftsmanship at number 1, we would have a highly respected builder amongst the online sniper forums. From the state of Florida, we would have Joseph with his ground up build of his own creation. It's not very often when we get the chance to feature these types of builds, but when we do, you know they have quite the story to them. As seen on the screen, this 12-pound build has been worked on in and out of a garage and has eaten up over $2,800 in the process, which paid for the 4130 chromoly steel, which is used in dragster frames for the one-piece receiver and outer barrel, which was hardened at 900 degrees, polished, and then later blued. And the barrel would be 285 by 6.03, made of Vasco Max C350, which was made just for this build. And the metal used was gun drilled at a custom firearm shop and sent to EdGI Custom for finishing and lapping. Joseph also told me that Vasco Max is a steel used in nuclear centrifuges and fusion bomb casings. It is trade banned to send to any Middle East country and is one of the strongest grades of steel available to the people. Yeah, so maybe just about now you'll understand how serious this builder is. But the list goes on. And the remaining components would be an EdGI SS cylinder of custom nozzle dimensions, an EdGI SS heavy piston, which is also custom made, an EdGI bolt handle, an EdGI custom bolt end cap, an Action Army hop-up chamber with a brass nub, a 9-ball bucking with an R-hop installed, a PDI SPR 380% spring, a PDI spring guide, a magnetic return trigger unit made of steel, and a Model Work VSR stock until his custom made stock is complete. So what we've learned through this parts list is that Joseph is no wimp from handiwork, and he can really make a rifle from some pretty strong stuff, which makes it obvious as to why he's so respected amongst the groups I've posted the submission pools in. This is not something you just go out there and buy or post about online and get one sent to you in a couple weeks. This is a prize build that shows what true dedication and an idea can pull off, especially when you're building a rifle to fit you, and that may be true for our other builders that we've seen here today, or what we've seen through in our other episodes. And that's what makes this series so great, but now it seems we've come to the end of this edition, but it was an awesome one, even if it was a remake. But be sure to comment of what you'd like to see in the next show, or what you thought about this one. And be sure to subscribe for more original content just like this, and if you guys blow up this video with 300 likes, then I'll be sure to get to work on the next countdown immediately. And I'd also like to thank Beats by Nice for supplying this video with his free music. And if you'd like any of his music for yourself for your videos, then be sure to check out his channel with the links in the description. But until that next video drops for you all to enjoy, this has been Scott Slade Holmbeck, and I'll be sure to see you all next time. Thank you all for watching.